everyone, I'm your host Pensyfan19 and welcome to the October 2023 Pensyfan Periodical. This is a monthly news series which covers most of the major railroading headlines from around the world, as well as my opinions on them. We have a lot of articles to go over today, so with that in mind, let's get rolling. First off, we have a bit of a slightly late article, as Amtrak's Office Inspector General released a redacted report about the various issues that are currently plaguing the delayed Avila Liberty train sets from Alstom. I say this is kind of late since it was originally drafted on September 29th, but the official report was released to the public 4 days later on October 3rd, and, for the first time in many months, we have a guest on this periodical. Here to help summarize the OIG report on the Avila Liberty, and after writing a 9-page summary of the entire report linked in the video description, please welcome my good friend and rail fan, New York Central.
How's it going, guys? My name is New York Central, and I just want to thank Pensyfan19 for letting me have a short time to explain the situation going on with the Avilias. If you haven't heard already, there is a report out from the Office of the Inspector General for Amtrak. It came out on September 29th of this year, 2023, and I made a quick little 4 or 5 page Spark Notes version of that. This will be available on my channel when I release the video that I'm going to be making, going into more detail about it. I just want to preface this by saying I am in no way, shape, or form a mechanical engineer, so mechanical things going forward that I see and talk about, I can't, confirm or deny because I don't know how that works, but I'm going off the basic principles that I'm understanding of those systems. Long story short, Alstom and Amtrak, there's a bit of tension going on, if you haven't heard already, because of the delays going on with the Avila Liberty sets. The Avila Liberty, if you don't know, are the new Amtrak Acela sets to replace the current legacy sets. There's quite a few problems going on with the system as a whole. For starters, the big thing is the window shattering for no reason. So there's that. Not the best thing to happen. There's also the tilting system. The tilting system likes to leak hydraulic fluid quite regularly. So again, not the best thing to happen. There's another problem with the onboard computers. The onboard computers do not have enough RAM, so they cannot run the PTC cannot run PTC. So as such, FRA has speed limited our 165 mile per hour bullet train, to put it, colloquially, to 70 miles an hour because of that FRA regulation, because there's nothing. Another big problem with them is the models, so technically they're not FRA compliant, and they're also just putting them right into serial production right before they were actually done prototyping. There's a lot more going into this that I don't have the time to talk about, but to put it shortly, no, the Acelas are not going to be cancelled. They will be coming soon. I can't speak on when that is going to happen, however, but hopefully this is the foundations for something new for Amtrak where they can actually not be, delayed with such massive degrees. Again, I just want to say thank you for Pensyfan19 for letting me have this time, and enjoy the rest of the video.
Speaking of which, here is some interesting news. Alstom has rebranded the Bombardier multi-level as the Amdesia Max. There are too many ERTMS versions for most European engines to be compliant. Mercatalia high-speed freight service has been discontinued. A British Rail Class 08 has been converted to run on batteries. 2 Class 43 diesels have been sent to Nigeria for the Lagos Airport train. A new build of the Fascinion Railway's James Spooner has been completed. NASA is to land on an asteroid that contains $10 quintillion of minerals. An expensive car collection was sold off by the U.S. Marshals at the Baltimore and Ohio Road Museum. CPKC named a women's soccer stadium in Kansas City after themselves. Brady's Trainset released a fantasy Pennsylvania Railroad triplex with mixed reviews. Fan art of an overhead-powered Conrail SC70 ACE appeared in the Railway Gazette article. NS rebuilt a Dash 9 into an orange MOW Cal unit. A 16-engine-long equipment move was spotted moving various diesels from NREX to LTEX for storage. And the MTA released their 20 years needs assessment that lists trillions of dollars worth of enhancement projects needed over the next 20 years, along with a comparative analysis that compares and grades about 30 different projects based on a variety of factors. Link in the description. One of the most famous of these is a proposed extension of the 2nd Avenue subway as a 125th Street crosstown service, which wasn't mentioned in any other official subway plan in the past, and received overall positive ratings, as it's interesting to see the MTA add these extensions to their original plans, as I'm in support of any project that involves extending the subway, especially in underserved regions. Now here's a follow-up news section for articles covering stories from previous episodes. Ticket stations and agents are to remain throughout Great Britain. Nama Bharat has commenced service in Delhi. Indonesia has commenced their high-speed rail service known as Whoosh. Go Transit has ended their London Ontario commuter service due to redundancy from VIA. MBTA has released slightly better renderings of the CAF Type 9 LRV. Metro has to purchase battery-powered multiple units instead of rebuilding their F40s to run on batteries. Caltrans has released renderings of their HMUs, as Redlands HMU, destined for the same state, appeared at APTA Expo at the Brightline Base Camp in Orlando, Florida. The Napa Valley Wine Train received new Genset low-emission diesels in order to be compliant with the state's new emission rules. The TGV-M has been repainted into a testing livery as they try to ease out their own train set problems. Penn State has repainted their SD70M into university colors. Tri-Rail Cab Car 503 is the first piece of equipment to receive their new livery. Metro North has repainted their recently acquired XNGT cab car for their annual laser train. And NJT GP40 number 4210 has been repainted into an Erie Heritage livery. This news is kind of late since it didn't appear at the railroad's 40th anniversary event at Hoboken, and therefore wasn't public info yet. Even though I think the livery works surprisingly well in the engine, I feel a Penn Central unit would have worked better, since this engine originally ran for PC and would have followed the trend of the other two Heritage Jeeps being repainted into a livery that they wore in the past. Speaking of Heritage units, the Carolina Coastal Short Line has released an original Norfolk Southern-inspired Heritage livery, while the Florida Central introduced a Seaboard Coastline-inspired livery. Kentucky Steam repainted an SD40-2 in the N&W colors. The Oregon Rail Heritage Center started operation of their newly installed turntable the same day that the nearby TriMet Light Rail placed their Type 6 LRVs into service, which will be retiring the venerable Type 1s. Amtrak held a test train between Chicago and St. Paul to test the start of the Great River service between the two cities. The state of Colorado is looking into restoring passenger service from Denver to Craig, a line previously seen by a two-car mail train. BLET is calling for a 7,500-foot-long train length limit, only to face immediate backlash from the AAR. Civil Logistics is to transport Formula One equipment by rail in the U.S. Chevron has acquired Hess, which puts the legacy of the Hess toy truck in question. Go-Ahead has been sold to OBB. 5 stations in southeast Wales are to be renovated, including Cardiff East, Newport West, Somerton, Llanwrwr and Undy. Airport Central Station on Perth's Airport line was a featured Wikipedia article for October 9th. CRT is to purchase bi-level Stadler Kiss DMUs for Vienna's airport train, while PESA is to make DMUs for Ghana. Trine is to purchase BMUs, while Saudi Railways is to test Alstom Islands. UTY in Uzbekistan has purchased a Regio Panther EMU. Railpool is to purchase Voslo Modulus Shunters. Siemens to Zero HCs have entered service for DB, while the Class 720 entered service for C2C. A Class 37 is now running on solid oxide fuel, while a French AGC DMU was converted to run on batteries. CNE8 number 102 has been donated to the Monticello Rail Museum. Virginia and Truckee appeared in the recent Leonardo DiCaprio movie. LSWR 563 has been returned to operation. Rio Grande K28 number 478 is to run on oil, thus being the last narrow gauge Rio Grande engine to run on oil. Santa Fe 1010, an engine covered in an early episode of Remarkable Engines, is to be returned to steam by the California State Railroad Museum. And the B&O Railroad Museum is to cosmetically restore Reading 2101 to its American Freedom Train livery for America's 250th birthday in 2026. After all that, it is now time for this month's Meme of the Month. This month's Meme of the Month is Custom Southern Malay. And now, the top story of the October 2023 Pensyfan Periodical is HS2 Manchester extension cancelled. In a very unusual move from Great Britain, and technically a follow-up story from previous early periodicals, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has announced that the Manchester leg of High Speed 2, or Phase 2B, has been cancelled in favor of various smaller projects in the region, along with running services on existing tracks, as well as other projects such as Northern Powerhouse Rail, which has also been through a turbulent history. To add insult to injury, much of the now excess HS2 funding is allegedly going to road improvements, which would be a move expected in an auto-based country like the US, but especially surprising for a rail-based continent, let alone country, as there appears to be a slightly increasing push for more auto transport over rails, even outside the US. But back in the UK, this is essentially a massive scaleback of the proposed dedicated high-speed alignment in the like similar to HS1 between London and the Channel, likely due to rising costs and refusal to pay for the new right-of-way, with Avanti West Coast currently contracted to host passenger services on HS2, as it would supposedly be shared with other services as well, similar to the West Coast Main Line. Even though the PM places the blame for cancellation of this segment on different work patterns after the pandemic, several communities in the north of England are still outraged at the decision, as they feel they're being left out from direct, modern high-speed service to the rest of the country, and that HS2 primarily serves a specific lower region of Britain. As an American, I for one am surprised that such a rail-friendly nation such as Britain would allow such a massive cancellation of a massive rail project, especially as other rail lines that were cut by the Beaching Acts are in the midst of being restored, along with a push for more sustainable public transit. I myself don't know too much about project specifics, but I decided to cover it as a top story based on how drastic the decision was, as well as all the other news surrounding it, as a massive letdown from a country that was supposedly friendly to rail. Nevertheless, I hope that Britain continues to develop at least Phase 1 of HS2 to Birmingham relatively soon, and that they continue to develop HS2 and other rail connections in the face of anti-rail resistance. Basically, don't fall for the trap of one more lane. Thank you everyone for watching this month's episode of the Pensyfan Periodical. There have been a lot of rail news headlines for the month, and it will be very interesting to see what the future has in store for all of these articles. Thank you again for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a good day.